Good morning, ladies and gentlemen. I would like to welcome you to this webinar. App Plumber is not only about empowering you with information, but also about convenience. Log into the PIRB's audit IT system through App Plumber and purchase or log a COC, follow an audit process, log and monitor CBD, check your PIRB invoices, update your PIRB profile details, even do your renewals. All in the palm of your hand. App Plumber, everywhere you go, there we are. Now I'd like to hand over to our presenter, Gerard.
Good morning, all. So today our presentation is on tooling and planning, and we're looking at productivity. And we are one of our biggest challenges in the marketplace is reducing headcount and improving our bottom line. As we all know, trying to get ahead of the builder is always a challenge. He keeps us behind forever, and then suddenly he expects us to perform a miracle and get ahead of him. It's amazing as we're talking about tooling, and then this amazing app is, it's the first time I've seen it, and it looks like it's a really great tool. So in our tight marketplace, and we see it, tender pricing constantly on the down, and we often look at the pricing and wonder how we're going to do it, or how the contractor that has won it is going to do it. So having a look at that, we need to look at ways of doing things better and quicker and more effectively. Every question, can you do it cheaper? If you use this material, it's much cheaper. You can save money, but often when you're looking at it, it costs you nearly 3 times as much. Using unregistered plumbers or plumbers' assistants to do the work, it's really problematic. And then we've seen a lot at the moment of poaching plumbers from one contractor to another for a few rand more. And so what is the true cost of doing this work? And where will we be in the next year? Because if we continue like we are definitely going to suffer the consequences of what we are doing. So we can do it cheaper. Definitely. That's a little picture that I think everybody should be sending their customers when they're asking you if they can have a discount or can you do it cheaper or it's too expensive. We're really wanting to develop and produce a pedigree product. And in doing this, one of the big secrets is developing our youth. And there are a lot of colleges out. There's a lot of involvement at the moment from MyOpso, PIB, and a lot of the colleges that are producing youngsters that will be able to really add to our bottom line. When we look at, as the older guys like myself, when we need something done from an IT point of view, or we even need somebody to show us how to use our phone, we talk to our children, and they are the future. So looking at all of this, what's our biggest risk? And where do we lose money, and how can we improve productivity? So it's the number of people that we employ. For every person we employ a headache. And if we employ numbers to try and get ahead of the builder, it is going to have a consequence to us. If you look at the hours and the days that are worked and all of the things that are added up for every person that you employ, your PPE, the sick leave that they need, the holiday pay, bonuses, I don't know if we've used that word for a long time, but we really should be using it more often. It's additional tax and UIF and vehicles. The admin cost of looking after people is just huge. Our builders and contractors that we work for are renowned for accelerating and deaccelerating and just generally not giving the plumbers a chance to get in and do the work. So that scaling up and down is a huge problem. And every time we scale up, at the end of the contract, we have this inevitable retrenchment cost. Monitoring the output and the return is so difficult when you've got a lot of people and you need additional supervision. And normally productivity suffers when you've got too many people. And then, of course, with that, you have very little accountability. So when we're looking at a tender and we've won it and we start to question whether we've got it at the right price or not, we need to look at how we can reduce our resources that we require. We need to reduce the headcount and have more efficient people that are better trained and to do that work correctly first time. The number of vehicles we operate in and the fluctuation in fuel prices is just a nightmare for any contractor. And I think that's something that we often leave out of tenders is the number of days we need to go into backwards and forwards to a site, and the kilometers we have to travel and the cost of the fuel. If we start at the beginning of the tender and we look at it and say it's going to be a 200-day build, do we allow 200 days of the vehicle plus all the fuel and everything that goes into it? And we often see contractors who are winning work at the wrong price. This is a big problem, is that their P's and G's are not priced properly. Operating costs, how do you get that down? Increase in the output and production, definitely got to be the answer. But the most important thing has got to be to bank profit quicker and more often. In other words, you need to increase your productivity to bank that profit. This is a program that we're running with the grade 10s for the Gauteng Education Department at all the technical schools. And we looking at planning and how we can do things better. If we are able to put a little bit more effort into the planning side of the day's work or the work coming up in the next week, and we spend some time in the office and make the drawing and dimension it and work out exactly what fittings are needed, it'll make our job so much easier and we'll be that much more productive. So effectively, if you look at that isometric view and with the dimensioning that you've got, there's no reason that you cannot prefabricate all of these bathrooms or houses. And when the builder is ready with his surface bed, you just merely go and put them in. And we see this has been a huge benefit when we are doing stuff in high-rise buildings, hotels, office blocks. If you can just get ahead and keep your machines down in the basement where your offices are and prefabricate all the common pieces or prefabricate pieces that can go in, you will be saving a lot of time and money. And every time we go to site to train people, it is always so frustrating to watch the guys loading a butt welder or all the machinery and taking it up to the 15th floor to go and work instead of making the stuff down in the basement and carrying the prefabricated product up. Interesting in the planning and programming is we look at this soil stack and the drainage, waste and drains. Every one of those points is where the water needs to go. So if you think about prefabricating and you follow that same line with your water lines, you will bring out all of your points where they need it. And that's something that really adds to the bottom line when you're looking at doing a lot of repetition work. So again, if we can get the guys to do the drawing and the planning, we can then give them the bill of material. And from that is that you'll be able to monitor exactly what is going on in the job. Often we see the PQS and the contractors, QS or whoever's doing our application for payment or authorizing the payment doesn't really have time to go and measure properly. And often is that we get our certificates under-certified and we've got nothing to fight with. If you've got all of this planned out, you would just pull out that drawing and say, well, this is what's in it. And I've done 30 of those. Where can the argument be? Fabrication is definitely one of those things that we need to look at from a productivity point of view. This drawing here is of a typical shopping center, a back of house for a supermarket. And anybody that's worked on any of the Checkers, Woolworths, Pick and Pays or any of those will know that that installation of any of those pipelines is really problematic, is that the builder's all over the place. He doesn't want to give you access, always shouting and screaming that you're behind, and then you're digging up his platforms. All of this stuff can be prefabricated into sections where you're doing a few joints on site. And where this fabrication has been used in the past on a couple of the shopping centers, the points come out within 10 to 15 millimeters of where they're supposed to be. And where they are, the 10 or 15 millimeters out, it is usually that during the backfill process, the guy hasn't secured the pipe in the right position, so it moves slightly in the backfill. Again, you can do all of this 3 weeks before the guys even start on the foundation. That always has a problem with it, is that all of the revisions and that come through is how do you cope with that? And again, all of that comes back to planning. Planning has got to be one of the biggest tools that we should all be using all the time. And a lot of services that can be offered to the plumbing contractors is to get this stuff drawn up in Revit. And from Revit is that you'll be getting your bill of material. You'll get a cutting list that would look something like this or exactly like this. It'll give you the pipe sections. It'll tell you the size of the pipe. It'll give you the length of the pipe. And it'll give you every section that you need to make up. So you can then plan to make up section 1 to 11 and then 12 to 15, etc. And you would plan that accordingly. It will also give us a summary of what is required. So this little block, that is everything that is required for that job. So these are tools that we should be using more often, and often, we seem to not take advantage of this. And that planning side of it is so important. That also, the controls that it gives you to be able to monitor output of what the guys are doing and to make sure that your claims are correct, to ensure that your cash flow keeps your business going. And I think in such a tight economy, we should be spending a lot more time and effort on this. And again, I go back to the first comment, is that invest in our youth. The youth are the guys that can do things differently to the way we did it. They understand the computers and the software, and they know how to do the drawings, and they're easier to teach than to try and teach somebody like myself to do something new. Just a short little video for you. We've had to slow it down a bit because it sort of runs away with us a little bit at the speed that these guys are working at. So this is about a 5-minute little video, and I've taken off the sound from it, and we'll just talk it through. This is our training tower where we train the guys on how to do fire installations or bathroom installations, HDPE fabrication. And while this is up, all of our training is for free. And we are lucky to have sponsors that make sure that we can give this to our customers and clients for free. So these are grade 11 students. They came through last year with us in grade 10. And this is part of their fire installation that they're doing. And they are looking at, or they're learning how to prefabricate everything before the job is required. So they make every element that they can on the workbench down in the storeroom. So wherever your site office is, that is where we should be pre-manufacturing everything. And then that makes our scheduling of work that much easier. All of the better quality materials that are available today are all very well dimensioned, and they are also have Revit files to them so that they can be put into a drawing program, and they are able to get the cutting lists and all of the material that you need so you can plan. If we were to spend a little bit more money on better supervisors and managers, we would definitely be able to work at the prices that we are putting into the marketplace at the moment. So these are the prefabrication sections. And during the planning is that a simple isometric sketch with a few references and numbers. You're able to put that all together. And please excuse the mess at the back there. Probably not a good advert. And so if we take the youth and we are really developing the youth, we can teach them to do things the way we want it done. There are no preconceived ideas or bad habits that they've got. Whatever they come out with is what we are putting into them. And this is definitely a big thing for us in the future, is making sure that we are getting artisans that are up to date with everything, that they're keeping up with technology, and that are productive. And most importantly is that they are accountable for what they do. Again, bill of material, how we're going to put it in together. This installation, when the guys had done the fabrication, after the fabrication, there were 3 students from grade 11 from Katlehong Tech, and they did the installation in 2 minutes and 17 seconds. That's 3 fire hose reels, very much that they had prefabricated and cut the stuff. But that sort of productivity is the productivity that we need in order to make the profits that we require in such a tight market. I always laugh at when the guys are saying, "Oh, we're working on a percentage," and I think, how can you work on a percentage? You can only work on bankable rands, and if we're using material as the base and then we're putting in a percentage onto that for labor, it's not a great way to be making money and know where you're going. You can't bank a percentage, but you can definitely bank rands. As I said, there is quite a bit of showing off who our sponsors are, but if we didn't have the sponsors, we wouldn't be able to offer training for free. So we're very grateful to have them all on board. As I said, we've slowed this down quite a bit to sort of take out all of the speed that goes with these youngsters and the enthusiasm. In doing the training with the youngsters, we've had a couple of different projects where we've done some high pressure HDP, doing the fire stuff here, we're doing the fabrication of the drainage HDP, and never ever have we had one leak or one problem. It has just been amazing what the youth are capable of if you put the effort into them. It's amazing to see with the manufacturers, the various manufacturers, is that how they are making things that much easier and quicker. Those hose reels are the Shire Fire hose reels, which has got the most amazing brackets, where you can go and pre-put the brackets on and then just put the hose reel on afterwards, and it's simply hooks on. It is an amazing product. So in the training with these youngsters is every time that we run the training courses, and we are busy with 11 technical schools where we're training the guys, and we are looking to bring a lot of those into the industry as they are finished grade 12. So when we look at it, is that you'll notice that the tower has two sides to it. On the left-hand side, we did the MyPress, and on the right-hand side, we did GMS. And the GMS took one plumber and an assistant and took 3 hours and 5 minutes. And this was a plumbing contractor that did that for us, that does a lot of apartments. And the students did the MyPress in 1 hour from start to finish. It was 1 hour and a couple of seconds. And that was one plumber. So the video that we show with the three, we redid that, the competition between GMS and the MyPress, and it was 1 hour to do it with one plumber. And based on the costings, excluding labor, is that we'd come in on the MyPress at 7,100 and on the galvanized at 7,200. And the bankable profit in a day would be that with MyPress you could bank 4 times your profit, which is 4,700 versus 2,000 Rand using the GMS. So the new technology of tools and equipment is really an important part. And when we're looking at price comparisons, we often just take the price of the fitting and we say, oh, gee, that's too expensive. But if you can do that sort of banking of the profit, so you could bank 4 times the profit in a day versus 2, that also frees up your resources for the next day, that you've got the plumber that can go and do other work for you, which is really quite important. Super proud of all of these kids at the technical schools, and we look forward to them coming through as a great asset to us in the future. So if we rethink in the way that we do jobs and look at how we can improve on productivity, is one of the things that we need to consider is taking on these youngsters as they finish school, before they become despondent, and getting them into the trade. And what they've produced is just amazing. And there's a lot of other videos that we can share with anybody that is interested on where these kids have been doing work and what they've been trained on. And so, as I said earlier, the training is all free for the youngsters and for all of the plumbing contractors. So if you have any of your guys that you want to upskill, the stuff that we do is not accredited. It's not CETA accredited, but it is all the latest technology, and it's based on improving the economy. So feel free to contact us if you have any guys that you want to have trained. So, as always, without having the correct support and sponsors and the amazing things that like the PRB and IOPS are doing, that new app just looks awesome. It looks like something that everybody should be doing. Hopefully, in the near future, we'll have an app where we can record the work that's been done, that we can put a little bit of pressure on the PQSs to make sure that we are paid for what we do. And too often is that when we talk to a contractor and he says, I can't pay the full bill because my certificate was cut by 100K or 200K. And it's just like, how does that happen? Anyway, we look forward to things improving. And if there are any questions or anything, please feel free. Thanks, Karim.
Thank you very much, Gerard, for this informative session. I believe there are no questions from my side or from the attendees. Is there anything you'd like to add before we end off?
One of the projects that we're working on now is to take drafting students from school. And as they come out of school, is that we'll be teaching them all of the stuff on Revit and AutoCAD. And our objective is to produce a lot of wet services draftsmen that can do this sort of prefabricated drawings for any product and for any bathroom or any building. They would still have to work with the wet services engineer, but at least it'll help the contractors in getting their planning ahead and being able to hopefully turn the profitability of these businesses. And we look for a good hopefully growth in our economy in the next year or so.
Thank you very much, Gerard, for that. I'm going to go ahead and end the session now.
Thank you very much.